acá con el músico inglés John Fairhurst, quien ha accedido a tener una entrevista con nosotros. John tiene una carrera de aproximadamente 10 años y bueno, es un placer tenerlo acá con nosotros en Rompiendo el Sonido. How are you, John? Well, okay, I'm going to say this in English now. I have the pleasure. Okay. I have the pleasure to be accompanied by an English musician who has developed an interesting career with his own heavy blues sound in the last 10 years, releasing 5 albums independently so far. Hello, this is John Fairhurst. Hello, John. How are you today?
Hello, I'm fine. How are you doing?
Not too bad. Not too bad.
Good. I'm just at home, like most days at the moment.
Indeed, we've been pretty much locked in recently. I wanted to begin asking you about the beginning of your career. How did you start promoting your work? Because I understand you've sort of finished university and then you went to know the world, to travel the world. But did you start like touring at that time? Or did you start locally with your own music? I am asking also this because many musicians today get stuck in the virtual world, and I would like to know about your first experiences in the UK.
Well, I started playing guitar kind of seriously when I was about like 11 or 12 years old. Because like my dad was really into lots of music, so there was loads of music around the house all the time, and he played like country blues guitar, finger picking. So that's kind of where I began. Although my professional career didn't start till much later. I had a few bands when I was a young boy, and as a teenager, I played around here locally. But yeah, I never really started touring, and I went away to university. I just played for myself, really, and played some gigs sometimes, not very often, and rehearsed with my band. It was only my professional career only started after I left university, and I had a really bad accident and broke my my left knee. I tore all the ligaments in my left knee, and I guess I really started to sit down and play guitar all day, every day at that point when I was maybe 21 years old, because I couldn't walk for quite a while. And eventually I got some compensation money from the company I was working for when I had an accident at work. And with that, I went away to travel the world and to go and play and meet different musicians. And I guess I wasn't really thinking about having a music career at that point. So I went away traveling for a number of years, and then I started to record my first album. I did very little recording before kind of 2007, I guess. A few things in Australia. I had a band in Australia I played with. But yeah, nothing particularly serious, just playing a few gigs here and there. But my actual professional career started kind of in my late 20s, I guess.
Okay, that's very interesting. Also because you have the chance to experience or to be like on stage with musicians from different backgrounds, different countries, and that's very nurturing for any musician. This first album, yeah.
Sure. I mean, I guess I wanted to. I didn't feel that I was good enough, and I just wanted to practice and practice and practice until I felt I was happy with what I was doing. I think as well. I didn't feel that I was. I wanted to present what I was doing well. I was good enough to present what I wanted to do without many years of practice.
Of course. So this first album, Joys of Spring, I understand it was recorded in 2007, but just released in 2010. Is that correct?
No, it was released first in 2008 on a Manchester label called Humble Soul. And then I re-released it in 2010 myself when I was no longer working with the label. So the first pressing went out with those guys, and then I re-released it myself independently after that. I mean, everything I've ever done has been independent. The only label I've ever released anything with was the first release of Joys of Spring in 2008.
Okay. I know as well that you played solo in one of the major UK festivals in Glastonbury. Did you approach this concert as any other, or did you have a special preparation for it?
I've played at Glastonbury many times with both with my band and solo over the years now. I mean, it's a great festival. I love Glastonbury. When I was 17, I had to do work experience from college, and my job that I did for work experience was to go to Glastonbury Festival, which
That's
kind of
nice.
it was very very good indeed. And I was like, yes, this is the job that I want to do. I want to be involved in this. Um, so it was a really good, rather than working in a shop or something like that, I went to Glastonbury, learned some very interesting things.
Of
Kind of
course,
blew
of
my
course.
mind, and I decided that that's what I wanted to do at that point in time. So yeah, I mean, like any big concert, you prepare yourself for the tour, for the concert, for anything you're doing. I guess you can only ever be prepared as you are for anything. But the opportunity to play on a really big stage, one of the world's most famous festivals, if not the world's most famous festival, I guess it could make you nervous, but I think it's more exciting, really, to get up and have the opportunity to play on such an incredible stage, on such incredible stages. It's such a wonderful festival.
Okay. Well, now let's talk about the music because most likely many of our audience won't know your music. You have a sort of mixture between classic rock and roll with a hint of, well, what I call new millennia in it. Your voice of Tom Waits and your guitar playing grant you the nickname in your town Wigan as the Jimi Hendrix of Wigan.
Yeah,
I read
excellent.
that somewhere.
Yeah, yeah.
I wanted to tell you that the guitar and knife playing in the video of Knox Stomp, that blew my mind. That was the first thing I saw, and I said, like, who is this guy? Okay, how is he doing that?
Well,
uh,
it's kind of an age-old blues trick, that one, really. Like Jimi Hendrix learned his playing the guitar behind his head, and Charlie Patton before him, the great blues player, he used to pull all these tricks beforehand. And there's a guy called Mance Lipscomb who was very famous for playing the guitar with a knife, and various different players played with a knife. So it's kind of a blues tradition thing, I guess. When you're playing slide to play with different objects.
True, or broken glass or whatever.
Or whatever, whatever. It doesn't really matter. If you can get a sound out of it and you like it, then hell, go for it.
Indeed. Who is your, yeah, your most influential musician, at the time of creating a song, an album?
It really depends. Like I listen to all sorts of different things. I had different periods in my life when I was into acid techno, and times that I've got really into Indian classical music or like gypsy jazz or all sorts of different music from all over the world, really. And I think the most interesting and joyous thing in music is that you can select ideas from one place or another and try to put them together, and make your own thing out of that. A bit like Lego.
Okay, well,
Yeah,
that's
kind
the
of.
way.
You might hear something, whatever it is. Maybe listening to some Tuareg desert blues from Mali, or and like something in there really gets you, and maybe you can mix it up with something else. So mixing all the things together, I think, is the interesting. But everybody's trying to express human emotion and to record the history of humanity, I guess. So with that, there's not really I don't see any difference in music. It's just an attempt of artists and musicians to record how they feel about things or to add to a tradition. So it's a really open thing, music. You can listen to anything and be influenced by it. It doesn't even have to be music. It can be anything. Yeah? An idea, a book, a conversation you overhear, bird song, anything.
Indeed, indeed. Now you've been to the States and to Australia. Like, are these like places that you commonly tour to? Because I also saw, is it called Cigar Box? this American sort of like special program could be?
That was actually that was from Bristol in England.
Oh, right. Oh, okay.
Yeah,
My
it
mistake.
was. Yeah, well, it was in a friend's. He makes cigar box guitars in the workshop there. But yeah, I've been to America. I've been over there a couple of times. To New York and to Texas. I went to play South by Southwest a number of years ago, probably over a decade ago now. I've been back and forth to Australia a few times and kind of lived and played there. I met some wonderful people, and everywhere you go. But
Okay.
I'd love to go back to play. I've never been to Mississippi or Louisiana, and a lot of my music is very blues based, and it's somewhere I'd really like to go. I've just not really had the opportunity to do so.
I understand. Well, let's hope next year.
Yes.
Things gotta move, man. Yeah, let's talk about a bit about your latest album, The Divided Kingdom. You had some good gigs in 2019 playing Glastonbury and the Rock Palace Fest in Germany. How has been the public reception of this album, and when and where was it recorded?
Well, I think it went really well. I think actually kind of bearing in mind what is happening in the UK and in America and various other places, I'm quite happy with the fact that my record is just as valid now as it was a year ago. Although I don't really think we got the opportunity to really tour it like we would have done this year. I mean, last year was really good. This year we had an enormous amount of books gigged in multiple countries, but obviously everything's moved backwards because of the coronavirus. So we're kind of planning to tour again the end of next year. But yeah, I mean, the album was kind of about how I feel about this country and this sort of tear between politics and society, and the love of your family, and yeah, all the topics basically, all the topics for now. I mean, we are about to become the divided kingdom in the 1st of January as well. So we're all sitting here wondering how the hell that's going to work out, and how that's going to affect us being able to, what our rights are, the huge change possibly to our rights to go and travel and work freely in different places. And all of these things are wrapped up in that album. I felt like I needed to say what I feel about things. It's quite angry. I think I'm less angry now. I'm looking at it with a more philosophical perspective, but
Well, you had the chance to rest, so to speak. The Divided Kingdom. How you said you were a bit angry, or you were very angry. How about musically? How did you express this musically then?
Well, we went for a really, really sort of like heavy blues rock approach, I guess. We recorded some of the album in a place called Fish Factory in London, which is a really fantastic studio. And then actually we started to build our own studio in London with a bunch of friends. We kind of all got together and built this place called That Sound Studio in Tottenham. And I got my hands on a big 40-channel analog, vintage analog desk. So yeah, we recorded the half of the album in Fish Factory, and we kind of run out of money. And then we ended up building our own place and recording the other half of the album in there. So it was, a big collaboration between friends and from all over. It was kind of interesting. I've worked with Alex Beitzke, my producer. He's German. The guy who runs the Fish Factory is Italian. The guys in the studio with us is a mixture of Italian, Spanish people, English people, Polish people. And we were all working very much together to create something good. And then the political situation in England is working to drive us further apart. So the album was our reaction to that, really. It was kind of driving wedges in society where there are clearly ways that people want to be together and to work together and to live together and to play together. So it's a reaction to the divides being driven into society through politics and business and the general state of the world.
Yeah, I think particularly for, well, I mean, like people have the right to move, or should have the right to move across the world as they would need to, whatever.
Exactly. I mean, since I was born, I have the right to work and to live in Europe as one place, and this is going to be taken away from us on the 1st of January. So obviously we're really upset about that. I mean, my partner is Polish. My son's half Polish. He's okay because he has a Polish and English passport.
Okay, okay.
All my friends I have the studio with, like it's an unbelievably terrible thing to happen, to suddenly have that ability to be part of a wider community taken away from you. Certainly when you've had it, your entire life, it's quite a jolt. And an effort in ridiculousness really for political ends.
This brings me to my next question, because I was reading a bit about it in your profile and the things you've been doing. How did Brexit affected the UK independent musicians? What has changed?
Well, at this point in time, we don't really know how badly it's going to affect us. We don't really know nobody knows what is
there
going to
hasn't been
happen.
any touring during this time, or
Well, no, I mean, it wouldn't. Well, obviously, there's been coronavirus, so everything's just practically ended. I think I did my last shows at the beginning of March, which was going to be the beginning of touring probably 11, 12 countries this year up until December. So obviously that hasn't happened. It's what happens after the 1st of January. We don't know whether we're going to need visas, for each country. We don't know anything about how any of these things are going to work out, because there are no deals. There's been nothing sorted out yet. So it's completely up in the air. We have no idea how to respond to it, other than it's probably going to make it considerably more difficult and expensive for us to do our job. There's been very little support in the UK for musicians or for self-employed people here at all. It's almost as if, because you're not following the script, which is your job as an artist, is to, talk about the times that you're in and to ask questions. It's almost as if they're quite happy for the entire industry to just die. That's how it feels here. We feel like we're having our careers stolen from us right in the middle of our working lives.
Yes, that's really unfair. Now,
It's
okay,
insane.
well, but you hang in there, and I'm
Oh,
sure
we
many
will.
other musicians are hanging there.
Oh,
And
don't worry. There will be a
you have
pushback.
you came with a wonderful idea, creating the medicine show that started in May. How was the
Indeed.
reception from the audience? Why is it important to support organizations at this time in the UK, for instance? Tell us your experience.
Well, I think the medicine show went really well. I mean, it was an interesting experiment in how
First,
to
tell us
conduct.
what it is. Tell us what it is.
It was basically a live streaming show. I was doing once a month in order to continue making music and playing music and entertaining people and having discussion. So yeah, that ran for a few months. It was quite a difficult experience to learn how to use all of the things that we needed to do to make the show. It took quite an enormous amount of effort on a lot of people's parts to suddenly raise your game into doing like live streaming shows, and we've not really done them before. And yeah, it was an interesting 3 months of hard work to kind of get that to work. But yeah, the response was really good. I mean, it kind of did start to drop off in the summertime, which is why I decided to leave it alone and to just have a little break as well. But I'm intending to start back up again in the autumn with some more shows and playing some more music when the winter months draw in here and people are inside the house a little bit more and not outside enjoying the sunshine. What was the second question?
And like, and why it's important to support organizations? Because I understand, like, you were it was on demand. It was like a show on demand, but you were also giving away some of the money.
Yeah, I mean, we're still kind of doing our job, I guess. And supporting independent music is we have, apart from going out playing shows and the whole way the industry works. I mean, we've been kind of left without like any income at all, really. But we're trying to find ways in order to be able to still do what we do. Independent musicians, you just got to make your own way by your own luck and your own wits, really. And it's just very important to support independent music, to, you know, freedom of expression and recording of history. And what we essentially do is to bring people together. That's what a gig is. It's a joyful experience for everybody concerned, hopefully, where we can discuss various things. And it's a really important part of being a human being. And without having any central support for that at all, you know, it's we have to kind of do it all ourselves. And with you guys, it's actually the fans who are the independent music scene who support that. And it's for and because of music fans that, you know, we exist and we can do what we do.
Yes, indeed. And people should, you know, like buy the material of the musicians and go to the concerts and pay for tickets and stuff like that.
Absolutely. And you should really, you know, if a musician has a Bandcamp, buy it directly from them rather than from Amazon or from Spotify or from one of the other platforms that, you know, take a large chunk of the money. In the case of Spotify, they really don't pay very much at all. Or
It's a
anything.
rip-off. It's a
Well,
rip-off, and it's been denounced by big musicians, actually.
Well, I mean, it was basically it's a response to piracy, I guess, but the response was to make everything basically free. So you didn't really solve the problem. It's just that you made everything free, although still charging for it, but not really paying the musicians. So it's kind of, I get, you know, different people look at it different ways, and it's wonderful that they can have all this different music for next to nothing, but then the amount of time and effort that a musician puts into creating their music or their art doesn't change. It's just there's a lot of people having it for free. So it's really important to support artists directly through their crowdfunders, through their Patreon, through their websites, and by buying their merch directly from them on their Bandcamp and going to their shows. Support independent music directly.
Well, that's the idea, and well, it's been very interesting talking to you, and the process of you the recording this latest album is astonishing. It actually breaks the name, the divided kingdom. You know, you actually managed to unite a bunch of effort and of people from different places to create something unique, something amazing.
Well, this was the joy in it, you know, and it was kind of, you know, it was kind of a bit of irony, I guess, that the entire thing was made with so many helping hands from so many different places, and it was wonderful that happened that way, and in so doing, kind of proves the point of what we're saying, really, of what I was trying to say, about the necessity of sort of everybody within society, and, you know, no matter where you're from, it doesn't matter, does it? You know, it's ridiculous to think any other way. People have moved around the world and exchanged their ideas and their genes for millennia, and long may that continue.
Well, John, would you like to add something else? I don't have any more questions for you.
Well, I just got to say, well, you know, stay safe and look after yourselves, and support independent music. And I guess that really try and maintain a philosophical outlook on life in these crazy times. Yeah.
Yes, please. Well,
And,
thank you very much, John. It's been a pleasure talking to you.
Thank you, you too, as well. And thank you to everybody who's supported me and everybody else in these times and continues to do so, on behalf of all musicians.
Great.
Thank you.
I'm going to stop this recording now.
Okay.
Yes.